The annual American Speedfest at Brands Hatch is now in its 11th year. As usual, our Intermarque silhouettes were temporarily renamed Speedfest silhouettes just for this meeting. Qualifying saw an interesting battle for pole position between leading senior driver Paul Knight and multi-race winner Malcolm Blackman. In the end, it was the white Vauxhall Tigra of Knight which topped the timesheets, just 0.099 of a second quicker than Blackman. Danny Russell surprised everyone with a sterling effort to be third quickest in his grey Tigra, just edging out Gavin Bristow in his yellow version. Fifth quickest was Colin Smith in his Ginetta, with Philip Blackford lining up alongside in his newly acquired Tigra. Chris Ayling had found another engine for his Tigra and lined up 7th, with Volker Tim joining him on row 4 with his Audi TT. Sean Pauley is getting to grips with his VW Corrado and posted the 9th quickest time, with John Price completing the top 10. It was good to see Paul Coxage returning, this time in a Vauxhall Tigra from the Colin Smith team. Baz Johnson had the Pontiac qualified 12th, followed by Stephen Phillips and Gary Deal. Lining up at the rear of the field would be Ray Harris, who suffered a broken exhaust. Then came Russell Humphrey, who had a misfire due to a battery issue in his Tigra. Finally, there was Mick Robinson, who had a crank sensor issue. The rolling start saw Knight take the initial lead, but by lap 2, Blackman was in front as they sped along Copper Straight. Unfortunately, there was a yellow flag zone, as Robertson had ground to a halt on the first lap, with a repeat of the crank sensor wire problem. Undeterred, the two leaders put on a good display of fast close racing. In third place, it was Colin Smith initially, with Danny Russell in 4th. However, one driver really on the move was Ray Harris. By lap 3, he was 5th, and a lap later, 4th. It took a couple of laps to pass Smith, and then Harris set his sights on the two leaders. Gradually, he closed the gap, so that by lap 15, it was a three-way battle. Sadly, it all went a bit wrong, as they went into clearways on lap 16. It was side-to-side contact, which unfortunately resulted in Harris spinning back to 5th. Meanwhile, Blackman crossed the line first, with Knight close behind. But the win was taken away from Malcolm by the earlier yellow flag infringement. So Knight was promoted to 1st, with Smith holding off Russell for 2nd, as Harris took 4th. Russell Humphrey made good progress up to 6th, as Keith White held off a determined Blackford. Baz Johnson was a bit lonely in 8th, as he edged clear of Pauley, whilst Phillips rounded out the top 10. Deal completed the finishes in 11th, as Ayling retired just before the end. Price and Coxage were also pit visitors, whilst Bristow had a couple of off-course excursions and pulled in on lap 8. Poor Volker Tim was unable to start his Audi, and he also found that his van had locked itself with the keys inside it. The grid draw for race 2 saw Blackford on pole position with White alongside. The initial getaway looked to be okay, although Blackford had a grassy moment exiting Druids. However, at the start of lap 2, it all went wrong at Paddock Bend. It appeared that Pauley got a bit sideways and was unfortunately collected by Phillips. The unsighted Tim also got involved, as all 3 cars plunged into the gravel trap. Immediately, a red flag was shown, so that the 3 drivers could be rescued. A complete restart saw White drive around the outside of Blackford to take the initial lead. However, by lap 2, it was Harris in the lead, although most eyes were on Blackman's rapid progress from last to 5th. Sadly, on lap 4, there was an incident at Clearways, as Humphrey, who overtook White and Knight, went for a diminishing gap on the inside. The inevitable contact also involved the innocent Blackman, whose car was momentarily airborne. The red Tigra trickled into the pit, but the other 2 were stuck on the edge of the track. The safety car, therefore, appeared in order to clear things up. Once the BMW and Tigra were removed, racing resumed. Harris controlled the pace well and soon had a 2-second gap to Smith. Humphrey put pressure on Colin, but was unable to find a way past. Further back, a grassy moment for Bristow exiting Druids dropped him behind Russell and Blackford. The drama continued right up to the checkered flag, although the podium finishes were all safe. As Russell crossed the finish line, his engine blew spectacularly. This resulted in an oil fire as he brought the car to a fiery halt at Paddock Bend. Blackford just hung on to 5th on Bristow, which earned Phillip the Hoosier Driver of the Meeting award. Into 7th came Robertson, who got the better of Aylin, with Johnson and Coxidge completing the finishes. Neither Price nor Deal managed to start due to car issues. The series now has a 6-week break before the next round at Snetterton.